right, it's another day for me. I'm back in the shop. I've got a better game plan than I did yesterday. We're gonna leave this floor of this box in here, and I'm gonna end up cutting out the flatbed because I'm really worried that I go in and cut all these spot welds. That's gonna make this panel real flimsy and oil can-like. That's gonna make it really extra difficult to keep this door seal channel like all lined up and all of that. I don't think it's worth it. This adds quite a bit of extra strength because it's bent opposite directions and it's plug welded, so we're gonna leave that. So what I need to do is I need to cut the seal channel out of here, section out of here, and put it across here so that our door has a seal all the way around, which we're gonna have to cut it out of that piece. We're also gonna have to trim back here so that we can fit it in. Once we do that and get all that squared up, get it tacked in, that we'll measure and cut out the end cap. I've decided I'm going to leave it straight. While I think the angle would look better, it's really gonna eliminate a good amount of storage, because chances are we're not gonna really be able to fill that angle completely. And if we have a straight rectangle, we could probably get more stuff in there, more tools and equipment. And also, I think a flat spot here would be beneficial because I could put like a work light or something facing down on the back of the flatbed. I do think the angle would look a lot better, but I think in this situation we gotta go function over form and go with what's gonna work best. So that's my plan for today. I wanna try to get this box like not necessarily done, but at least that door seal put in, the end piece capped. Maybe we'll start figuring out trimming out the door. That's gonna be a little interesting because I think we're gonna have to kind of section the door because we need to move the latch down. So we might just come in here and I'm not sure. It's gonna be a little tricky because this door is rather perfect, really. It's got little formed lips on the side. So we're probably gonna have to take like a few inches out of here, a few inches out of here, pull it together. There's no way I'm replicating this because that is the sheet metal folded over. I don't have equipment to do that, so I think we're just gonna have to try to section the door. Because my first thought was basically cut this out, pull the whole latch, and then move the latch down, but it doesn't solve this little lip problem that seals against the gasket. We need the doors to seal. So the other part is gonna be a little interesting. It looks like they spot welded the hinge in here, which is fine, but I don't know, we're gonna have to cut back. We gotta make sure we leave part of that hinge exposed, or we might just cut this out and see if we can drive the hinge rod out of there and we'll put it back later. I don't know. We got a ways to go before we have to figure that out. But for now, we're gonna get this seal channel cut out to replace and put over here. I guess I was gonna just cut it out of here, but maybe we cut this whole side out because we need the hinge holes, which we could put the holes in any piece we cut out, but might just be easier to just take this whole side. I mean, this is all scrap. We're gonna try to use this box and put it in at the back, but it's gonna be like, we're gonna cut it here. Well, I had a thought. My original thought was I was gonna cut the sheet metal to cap this out of the rest of that scrap box in the back. But it just doesn't quite work out well because we're gonna get into these bent pieces and all of that. It's just gonna make a mess. Then I got to thinking, well, I have some sheet metal. So what if we add a little flair to this and kind of make it my own, even though I'm already making it my own, but we can cut a panel out of this new metal, and then I could put a little bead roll in it, make it look kind of cool, give us something different to just make it extra unique. If we do this right, we could probably trace this out. Kind of thinking I want to leave a little like an edge here. We'll have to figure out the best way to kind of cap that, but all right, I don't know why I'm doing this the hard way, but I have a better shear over here. We're just gonna have to deal with the stupid flashing lights. So I apologize for that. Let's go see how it fits. Not too bad. I think we can work with that. I guess I could have just left this straight, like a small flange. That's okay though. Now then, what do we do for a bead roll? Do we just do a square? I don't know. There's really no right or wrong way for this. We're just doing what I think looks best. And I'm making a template because I got to do this to the other side and I want to make sure they at least match. So. It's slightly out of square, so want to make sure you got it where you want it. Next thing we're going to do is just measure and try to put it where we want it. I think this might be slightly, it's not, none of this is perfectly square. You got to remember too, when you're working with old junk and trying to make it better, it's really difficult to make it perfect. You kind of just have to go with what looks best to your eyes. Like this inner panel is a little bit beat up. We could sit here and try to make it perfect, but I gotta think about too, like I'm not building a show truck. This is going on a 420,000 mile truck that's got its dents and scratches and is by no means perfect. We're just trying to make this more functional and also look decent, but I'm not selling this to anybody, so like this doesn't have to be perfect in my eyes. All right, well, there we have it. I think it looks pretty good. Is it perfect? No, but now I think for this one, I want to sink this in instead of raise it. I think it'll look better. So we're gonna go attempt that. Oh, these lights. I gotta get new ones, guys. Just money from other projects. Well, I'm no expert at bead rolling, but I went and made one pass. It wasn't really deep enough for my liking, so I pushed the dies a little deeper, and I'm not sure if maybe 2 passes is a bad idea or maybe these too close together. Looks like that was moving a little bit. I don't know. It's kind of got this like extra bead in it. It's a little weird, but I think it'll work for what we need it to do. Definitely made it a lot stiffer. Nice. Oh, it's freaking undercoating, man. All right, I'm probably gonna tack this together with the wire machine, and then we're probably gonna TIG weld it just because of what it is. All right, I'm not gonna make y'all sit through the strobe lights while I weld this, so everybody turn the camera off and go TIG weld that up, and I will bring you back for the final product. All right, I got it all finished out, smoothed out. I'm pretty happy with it. Looks pretty good for a toolbox. Take a little skim coat of filler when we go to paint it. Ended up just kind of stitch welding in here. I'll buff those back down, and then we'll just probably silicone this when we're done. There's not much structure there. I don't want to fully weld it because it's just going to get all warped. I've got the door kind of laid out. Here's my plan. We need to take 8 and 11/16 out of both sides, and then we'll end up left with 2 seams to weld. My first idea was going to try to either drill out that spot weld or cut right here and kind of notch this, try to get that hinge round bar out. But I think the best plan is I'm gonna go ahead and cut the end off. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. I'm looking at this again. I've spent the last 20 minutes looking at it, and I just had another idea. So my second thought was to cut this, cut that. We'll try to knock the bar out, and then we can put it all back together and put the bar back in and trim it to size. But in reality, that's all we need. So we can cut it, all 4 of our lines, weld it back together, and we don't have to touch that piece of round bar at all because our hinge is still there. It's spot welded in. It's not going anywhere. When we weld across here, we're basically welding the bar back together. It doesn't need to be one. Pretty sure what they did is they put the bar in there and probably tacked it and then formed this piece over, extra support. The support's still gonna be there. We're just gonna weld it solid. And I'm gonna try to do it in the bandsaw so that I get some nicer, cleaner cut, easier, in theory. Let's see if it works. Well, that's way easier than a cutoff wheel. And there we have a custom 24-inch wide door to go in our 24-inch wide opening. So I'm gonna get this cleaned up and then I'll tack it together, get it all square, and then I'll come over here and we'll see how our hinges and overall length and everything lines up. All right, here's where I'm at. We got our new narrow door. It fits pretty well. I think I probably could have made it like 3/8 of an inch wider, but I don't think it's that critical. We just got a little bit more of a gap here. Also, there's supposed to be some little bushings in this because these wobble around. So I'm probably gonna have to like 3D print or figure out something for that when we go together for final assembly. This was a pain in the butt to weld. The welds are not too bad. Because this entire panel when they built the door has these like small little broke or rolled edges, the whole thing was kind of in tension. So when it got cut and we went to put it back together, each one of these is kind of like bowed, like a little bubble. So that makes this weld seam lower than the rest of the door. Like it starts out okay up here at top and bottom, but in the middle we get 1/4 inch low. So I think what I'm gonna have to do, I didn't weld the inside yet. I don't really want to do this, but I think it's the only way. I think I'm gonna have to cut this inner panel out, probably back to here. And then that will allow me to get in there with the hammer and a dolly, and I can like planish this and try to stretch it back flush. I don't mind having to do a skim coat of body filler when we go to paint this, but I definitely don't want a 1/4 inch 3/8 stick of filler right there in that weld. So that's really my only option, is to cut this out enough where I can get in there and hammer out the weld from the back side. I don't know, maybe I'll cut it out and just leave this inner piece. I might weld it back in. It probably wouldn't be too bad if I cut along this edge to just weld that back in. It's a lot more work, but I think it'll end up being nicer on the outside, which is what really matters. But yeah, there's our finished door, which means we got one box pretty well close to ready to put on the truck. I think that's gonna be it for this video. My next step is I gotta cut all of that box out and basically make the same thing for the driver's side. So y'all have already seen the boring part of making that, so I'll just make the other one and then I'll fire the camera back up when we go to start cutting on the flatbed and trying to put these on the truck. So until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.